Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of WingNut and RockHead Show. Okay, we got a chock full of stuff to talk about today. Lots has happened because we had a little time off.
Yeah.
And it's been a busy summer so far with a lot of things going on. And doing this show, adding more to our workload, being unpaid, I guess, circus monkeys.
We can sleep when we're dead.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's just taking up a lot of our time. We have a lot of things going on. And we want to get to a few things today.
Personal stuff.
Personal stuff, yeah, just fun stuff.
Fun stuff.
Speaking of fun stuff, we went to the M3.
It was a blast.
It's a music festival, but Merriweather Post Pavilion, I think it's called.
In Maryland, yeah.
In Maryland, just south of Baltimore, just outside of the city there. And first off, I want to say, last time I was there, it wasn't as nice. They have, because they had a roof collapse.
Oh.
And so I guess they sunk a lot more money in fixing the place up. And they now have beautiful dressing rooms with showers. They used to have trailers back there, their own individual trailers for the bands and whatnot. Now they have a really bona fide, nice backstage area. And then the concierge area, I don't even know what you call that, the kitchen, or, you know, where they serve the food that's catered.
The
buffet. Oh my God. Prime
rib,
rib,
I know.
salmon.
I had salmon and Caesar salad, and it was so good. It was better than some of the restaurants I've eaten it at.
They know how to take care of their.
It was really good. And you know what? We got to give a mini shout out to Mealy for those tickets, for the backstage.
Yeah,
for
he
getting
hooked us up. He hooked us up.
For getting us in the dressing room.
Well, that's the whole.
Backstage thing. Yeah.
All access.
But it was cool. I mean, we saw
yeah.
everybody backstage till they kicked us out.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about that later. I'm just talking about the pavilion. I know you're excited about everything.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
But
it was so much fun.
The place is awesome. They've added 3 more tiers on the side of the stage to accommodate more people.
Right, and there's those tables like on that second tier where you can go in and get food.
Right, so there are tables
down.
much like this. You could sit down and overlook, the whole venue. And then in the back there, they've added a swimming pool. A small swimming pool with like a little waterfall. We didn't have any pictures of that, but I'm sure you could find some because there's lots of videos online.
Yeah, there's videos on YouTube of it.
But there's a swimming pool, and then where you eat, it's all glass.
In fact, that video of Wolf Huffman being interviewed was right in front of the swimming pool.
That's right, in the Accept piece that M3 did. Anyway, you can find all that on YouTube. But they did a wonderful job with the place. We just drove in the back. We had a couple of the band members with us. So we just actually were able to go right back to...
so we parked right in the back by
where all the buses
dressing
and the trucks are. So we were literally steps away from the stage and whatnot. But anyway, it was all fun. It was very convenient, and I want to thank Mealy again for hooking us up. And we did hook up with Huffman on a couple occasions. There was a lot of other people there. But anyway, we're going to get into that. Yeah, it was. There was a lot of stuff going on. So, this show now, we're going to talk about that in a few after this, but today we're bringing on Mo Aguiari from the Georgia wing. I know they changed their name. It used to be the Dixie wing, but they've changed their name, and we want to give him a shout out, and we actually ended up hooking up, talking to him because we are still in the COVID thing and kind of limited to what we can do. But so we interviewed him and found out and see what's going on with that squadron down in Georgia with him and the Red Tail P-51 and the P-63. A bunch of other planes that those guys operate on their rare warbirds in the circuit. And so without further ado, here's Mo from the CAF.
Three-dimensional Mo.
Yeah, three-dimensional. Oh, look.
This is Flat Mo.
This is Flat Mo.
Flat Mo is the only Mo that I've actually met face-to-face.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and there's this whole thing going around.
I'm hoping to meet three-dimensional Mo.
Yeah,
maybe next.
Well, he couldn't
Oshkosh.
he didn't go at Oshkosh, so someone had one of these made, And because Mo knows everybody in the aviation world.
So everybody got to take pictures with Flat Mo.
Yeah, and he's with Warbird Digest and Warbird News. He really has his pulse on his finger on his pulse as far as the what's going on in the aviation. So so we decided to continue the tradition, and here's Flat Mo. But I bring to you now 3D Mo. Actually, it's still 2D because he's on the TV.
Yeah, okay, so 2D Mo.
Nonetheless, you get to see, and
Unless you know Mo.
He can tell you what's going on. So here he is. All right, welcome. We have with us today Moreno Aguiari. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Man, that's perfect, Gary. Well done.
And you are with the CAF. It's the Airbase Georgia Squadron, correct?
Yes, correct. I'm a volunteer for the CAF. Been a volunteer for more than 10 years with the CAF, and I worked for the CAF years ago, so definitely involved with the CAF and as well as Warbird Digest.
Magazine and Warbird News, correct?
Yes. So Warbird News is our news outlet. Warbird Digest is our magazine. They're part of the same company. One covers news in the Warbird community, very much a digital media outlet, and Warbird Digest is just a beautiful, glossy magazine that we are very proud of.
Yeah, it's very well done. By the way, the CAF Airbase Georgia, which I just mentioned, is formerly known as Dixie Wing. So for those people, it's like, well, whatever happened? It's the same wing. They just changed the name.
Correct.
Just so this way nobody gets their, underpants in a bunch or something.
Yep.
Nonetheless, okay. So I just invited Mo on here because of, he's been very helpful to us and vocal about what we do, as well as others as well too. I mean, and that's part of your, I guess, job scenario is to anything that has to do with it within the Warbird community.
Sure.
You alert everybody and tell the public and those that are interested in what we do as a whole, the latest, greatest, and what's going on in the restoration community as well too. So, and I have that magazine, and it is a very nice, glossy, coffee table book kind of. It's not like the cheap paper magazines you just see out there. It's got, I believe, you have a spine on the back too. So
Correct.
It's got the heavier paper and the great photography from contributors, all from the best photographers, aviation photographers that are out there. So I commend your staff and the people that work with you. And feel free to give a plug to everybody that's on that. So and where we could find that magazine as well as online. What is the what is the address?
Absolutely. Let me start with the magazine since it's the last subject you touched. I'm going to turn off my phone. I forgot to do it. Credit goes to my partner Tim Savage, who really had the vision of creating a magazine that was different from all the others. I think you nailed it when you say it's very much a coffee table type of magazine, something you will keep on your coffee table at home or whatever else. And that was the goal, to really create a classy magazine with in-depth articles. Our articles are anywhere between 4,000 and up to 10,000 words, which makes it a 10 to 15 pages long article. So we really try to go in the details of each restoration. Lately, we have expanded into stories that are not necessarily about restorations or flying aircraft. We have featured personalities and icons of the Warbird community. So I appreciate that you see that, and that's kind of the feedback we get. Everyone loves the magazine and the style. So credit to Tim for having this vision of creating this great magazine, and credit to all our contributors. Richard Allnut, Stephen Chapis, Greg Moorhead, James Church are kind of like the core team of guys behind the articles, and we have contributors from really all over the world, which is great. I handle the advertising and business development, and I kind of like to stick my nose occasionally in some of the editorial stuff, mainly because of what I do on social media and with WordPress News, people come to me and say, hey, look, I have this idea for an article, and I usually kind of pass the ball to the team. We recently added a managing editor from the UK, Alan Burney, who is a very experienced guy in the WordPress publishing and aviation magazine publishing. And after a difficult period with COVID, due to COVID, where we were not able to produce the standard 6 issues a year, we are back on track. Issue 91 was mailed over a month ago. Issue 91 is almost ready to be mailed, and we are ready to wrap up issue 92, which means that we are back into our regular 6 issues a year schedule, which we couldn't do in 2020. So we have a lot of new ideas, one of which involves you. We have a section of the magazine where we are going to feature some of the unique businesses and manufacturers of unique items, targeting the WordPress community. And you spoke to John Terrell, one of our guys, and hopefully in issue 92, if we can make it in time, we'll have a little, I guess, blurb about you and what you did and what you're still doing.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it very much. I mean, we could always use the publicity. Everybody,
Sure.
Even bad publicity is good publicity as long as you're on the radar.
I feel the same. And you mentioned WordPress News. WordPress News, it's really much our digital media outlet. Being a website, the publishing cycle, it's completely different. You can publish something on the fly, doesn't have really to go to a printing process. So it's digital publishing. And we see WordPress News as a news side, but an opportunity to really do articles that help other organizations raising funds. I come from years of digital marketing and web development. And when I started WordPress News, I did it for the simple fact that I realized that there was a lack of digital exposure to the masses. And I figured that WordPress News could provide that to the small shop or the grassroots organization that is restoring an aircraft. I saw WordPress News as a vehicle to drive traffic to these people's website and hopefully trigger donations. And I mean, I'm really proud of what we did, because we help organizations raising money. Digital, it's where it's at right now. Magazines are still great. We all love to be on the couch and on a Saturday afternoon maybe and just read your beautiful magazine. But the truth is that everyone is on their phone, their mobile apps, and their mobile devices. And I think WordPress News served that purpose. So between the magazine and the website, I think we have great platform which helps the community.
Well, plus there's social media too, right? You're on Facebook, obviously.
Yeah.
WordPress News and WordPress Digest also. I mean, if people just want to get an idea of what it's all about, I think maybe that would be the easiest way to take a peek and just go through,
That's right.
Timeline and photos.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our Facebook page, WordPress Digest. We are on Instagram as WordPress Digest Magazine. We are on Twitter. We are on YouTube. We are on LinkedIn, and I'm just thinking to expand into other platforms, because the younger generation now is getting into different platforms. Facebook, it's already for old people. Twitter, it's for middle-aged people, and Instagram, for 30 years old or so. Now everyone is on Twitch and all these platforms that are really focused on not focused, but targeted by younger generations. And our goal is to inspire some of these kids to get into vintage aviation, or to get into aviation in general. So we are thinking about ideas of, about reaching those younger generations by expanding our presence on different social networks.
Right. And you guys will be at Oshkosh this year, correct?
Yes, correct. We are not going to be I'll be there. We're not going to have a stand or a booth or anything, but we're all going to be there. I'll be there as media, as part of what we do. I'll be sharing a camper with Matt Jolly of Worldwide Radio. Exciting. We're both bringing our kids, so we're very excited to, for the first time in a long time. Actually, I'm not working Oshkosh. I'm just being there to enjoy the show. Between the CAF, the D-Day Squadron, and Worldwide Digest, I always have something to do. So I look forward to just lay back a little bit and enjoy the show with my kids and Matt.
Oh, that's great. Well, we missed you in 2000. What was it? 19?
19, yeah. Well,
Yeah. Well, you were there. You were there as Flat Mo.
at
and,
Flat Mo,
you got around.
That was, I think that was a smart decision, right? You need to keep your wife happy, right? Sometimes, not always, sometimes. And after being on the road for 48 days with the D-Day Squadron, I think I made a smart decision of giving up Oshkosh for just 1 year. Just that year, I'm not gonna do it again. But it was just really a matter of balancing my passion and the family needs. So
No, well, that's your family, and it usually comes first, and everything
That's
else
right.
is secondary. You got to take care of what you got to do. But yeah, and then last year there was really not a whole lot going on, and then this year again it was threatened to like not have it, and they have now all these changes because I went, I was like on the fence with, am I going to go? Obviously there's a short window for vendors. If they have to go in, they got to sign in, go through the whole, bureaucracy of the paperwork and submitting your fee and getting all that in there. And, I was just, looking at all the changes that were being made. They're not having the big opening on Monday, the concert,
Are you gonna be playing?
What's that?
Are you gonna be playing?
No, but they're not doing that this year. So they're not going to have, Ford's not doing the big stage. And the vendors, they were going to keep them apart and putting some of them outside. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know. I mean, I know people are, air shows are coming back and people are going again, but that when, so I decided now I'm going to just pool, my resources and then make a huge showing next year in 22. Because I just thought that, I don't know if the big money, the corporate is going to be there in mass as they usually are, just because of all the restrictions that are going on. Now, the air show folks, I think, is going to be huge, for like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday. But I think the corporate trade, thing is going to be lighter than normal. I mean, I may be wrong. So that's kind of what's keeping me, from not going. And then, last month I kind of revisited because they were letting things up and restrictions. And I'm like, oh man. So, and I think it's too late to even get back into, because it's a big deal for vendors. We got to load the trailer up. We got to bring product there.
Yeah, sure.
And I think most, the spaces, I don't know what the deal with the spaces. I just kind of written it off this year. So next year we'll just knock socks off. Yeah, hopefully if something else doesn't, like an asteroid hit us or something, but you never know. Knocking on wood here. But okay, well, you guys have fun. I mean, I'll be watching in some form live and monitoring all the, the tweets, the Facebook posts and whatnot, and chime in whenever I can. But we've got our
maybe we can
here.
do the Flat Gary this year.
Oh, that'd be hilarious, wouldn't that? Yeah, I know Matt Jolly would have.
Just give me an idea, Gary.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned Matt Jolly. We got to have him on too, because, I don't know I haven't heard much from him lately. And I know he's kind of switched gears from doing a show now to doing air show announcing and partnering up, on occasion with Rob Ryder, who's one of the top guys in the country when it comes to, air show announcing, emceeing and that kind of thing. So I kind of lost touch with him, but
I'll make sure I'll make sure he knows that.
Pass the word. Have him say hello, because he used to come down here all the time in Culpeper, where he used to keep his play when he was up in DC.
Sure.
And flew all the time. So we hooked up quite regularly.
Then. And now he's here in Georgia. His wife serves at Warner Robins. So that's he's definitely closer to me.
Right. Yeah, she's full bird now, right? She's full bird.
Cool. Correct.
Good for them. Well, and they have mini Mini Matt over there. So I'm
Mini
sure
Matt and
he's
then,
growing up
yeah,
pretty
Micah,
pretty
we're
big too.
excited
Yeah,
to
he's a good
spend
kid.
time with my kids and his kids. And as far as Oshkosh, we are, you know, it's going to be exciting as usual. As far as what we do, we are talking to Sleeping Dog Production and hopefully Warbirds in Review. We are in the past we have hosted the Warbirds in Review live feed on our website, and we're trying to do the same this year. So the whoever cannot go to Oshkosh and wants to watch the Warbirds in Review program, which is one of the best, if not the best program in the Warbird community, they'll be able to watch it on warbirdsnews.com. We'll hopefully come up with an announcement soon.
Oh, that'll great. Yeah, I could tune in for that.
Yeah, it's great what Connie and her team does. I think it's just that's what it's all about, you know, honoring the veterans and delivering in a very professional format, because the guys at Sleeping Dogs do a phenomenal job at filming and producing the show, because it is a show. So
yeah, a show within a show in itself.
That's
And
right.
just another feature, I guess, that goes on within Oshkosh. So,
Nice.
and you guys always fill the stands for that, you know, even though when it's hot. And hopefully you guys will have great weather like it did 2 years ago. I know that everything was fine, but usually Oshkosh is always something, you know, and then hence all the mud.
Yep.
You know, the swamp party, the swamp, which you're going to get back into again too, and tell everybody said hello on that.
I sure
Because
will.
we're making something. Well, I could tell everybody. We're doing a whole section that's going to have nose art that will feature something that has to do with swamp party. And I made that. You weren't around 2 years ago, and I talked to the organizers on that, and they said, "Well, that would be great." And I was like, "Yeah," it says, "I think that'll be my donation." So whenever you have, because it's hard to find sometimes, you know, with all the campers
Sure.
and the giant RVs and the buses kind of thing, you know, and it's a big area, you know, and if you have never been there before, it's kind of hard to find. You got to follow the noise and whoever's the loudest kind of thing. So I figured, well, let me make something that's about maybe 3-4 feet wide, something they could take with them and use as signage, you know, and
Sure.
you know, so people know this is a swamp party rather than invading somebody else who you think it's a swamp party, because there's
I think
parties
it's a great
everywhere.
I think it's a great idea. Nice of you doing it, and you know, you always do great work. You know, people like you, Chad Hill, you guys do just phenomenal work, and you're definitely part of our community, and portraying history correctly, which is the most important thing.
Right.
So I always been a fan of your work.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, that, you know, we try. I mean, somebody's got to keep history alive, at least as accurately as possible. And, you know, when it comes to what I do, as far as the research, I pretty much exhaust as much as I could before I even tackle on and commit to any kind of paint, because, you know, I want to make sure I get it right, you know, because people are going to criticize my work. Everybody's, you know, criticizes. I mean, I do the same thing. I'm my biggest worst critic, because, you know, even when I'm finished with a piece, I want to, you know, there's always that small percentage where you think, you might have missed something, or, you know, because even I don't get everything right 100%. So I try to keep that percentage as small as possible, you know, because there is some room for error, you know, there, and there's no first person account anymore, really.
Sure.
That is accurate even. But I you know, again, I try to keep things as historically accurate, and in fact, reversed a couple of things, you know, fallacies that were out there, or myths that, you know, have been perpetuated over the time, and just things get lost, and then people assume, well, this is how it was. And I'm like, no, it's not. So I have to be vocal and put out there. And again, you know, whenever you do that, you get people try to knock you down because they've seen everything else. Like if you lie, you know, believe a lie long enough, or you state a lie often enough, people believe it's true, you know?
Yep.
So to try to reverse that is difficult, because then they accuse you of changing history. So you have to do it with evidence, you know? And if I have the evidence and I can prove my point, then I shall do it. And you know, I've done that on several occasions, and I'm proud of being able to, again, revert history to where it's supposed to be.
Sure.
So through nose art, obviously, because that's my whole thing, the medium in which I work in. And that's where people gravitate to anyway. And how I got involved in this whole thing, because, as a youngster, you go to air shows and people always take pictures where, Mo? By the nose, right? In front of the airplane, by the nose. They're not typically by the tail or anywhere else. They want to take a picture of whatever artwork that's on the nose. And that's sort of the draw.
Yeah.
And that's something that I noticed, and I was like, hey, that's how I got involved. It's like, hey, I wonder if they could do replicate a piece of the plane that, is the nose art. And, basically, I mean, I've talked about that in other, episodes here, but that's basically what brought me into this whole thing. And then meeting everybody now involved who is doing all these shows and the restoration. I mean, you find it's a community like yourself, and they're just a bunch of just great people,
I agree.
And it's,
Well, I think it's one of the special things about aviation. I notice I do things in what I call mainstream aviation or corporate aviation. The passion for aviation, it's so powerful that really aggregates people, and it's just great when you have the opportunity to share your passion with more than one person. That's at least what I like, share the same passion with others, and pass it along also. So
sure.
In the workbook community, it's very much even more than the mainstream aviation, because there is a personal and emotional component when it comes down to World War II and historic aviation. So
right. Well, Mo, we got to get you down here or up here. If you're ever in the sort of the DC or Central Virginia area, I don't know if there's anything that actually brings you up here other than
no, but I've been promised you that I was going to pay a visit one day, and I still haven't done it. I feel bad about it. So we are what I was saying earlier about expanding some of the things we would like to do on social media. We have an ideas of doing a more like almost like a Warboard TV show we have in mind, with going places and interviewing folks. So that's something we have in mind to do. So that definitely would be a good opportunity to go out there and see maybe the guys at the Military Aviation Museum in Virginia Beach, and come see you as well.
Right.
So,
well, there's the Smithsonian, and then the formerly Udvar Hazy Center. I forget what it's called now. They keep changing.
I think it's still Aguiari, I believe. Yep.
No, it's not. Somebody,
No?
they changed it once again. Yeah.
Right.
But
No,
it's
I
still the
missed that.
same place. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that might be good. I mean, that's only an hour away, just over an hour away, that we could possibly hook up and do something. And, like I said, if you're in the
I'll
DC
promise
area,
I'll swing by.
Awesome. Well, listen, I know we can talk, and we'll have to catch up again in person one of these days. But it was great talking to you. And where can we find the CAF, the Airbase Georgia and your
Yep.
Warbird News and Warbird
Yep.
Digest? Give me
So-
those addresses again.
CAF has changed the domain to CAF Airbase Georgia.org, ORG. And the magazine is at warbirdsdigest.com. And our news website, it's Warbirds with the S, warbirdsnews.com. And on social media, if you search for just Warbird Digest, you'll find all our platforms on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Awesome. Very good. Well, look forward to hooking up again with you. And thanks for coming on the show, WingNut and
Pleasure,
RockHead.
Dave. Thanks
And
for
look
having me.
forward to whatever else you have coming on. And if you have anything, just give me a holler. I'll do the same thing. We can, the beauty of the internet and keyboards and whatnot, we can just do things very instantly. So, as well as, phone, I have your number too. So,
Yep.
But again, thanks
Awesome,
again
Gary.
for coming on, and we'll talk to you in the near future. All right.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Gary. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, so there's our story and hookup with Mo. And again, Oshkosh is about 2.5 weeks, something like that. Again, about two and a half
Yeah.
weeks. So, and we won't be there, unfortunately, but Mo's going to be there. So,
If you get an opportunity to go to Oshkosh,
yeah. go.
it is amazing.
Yeah. You guys.
I mean, we just weren't sure, this year how it was gonna pan out, so we decided to wait. But
Right, and if you could find Senor Pilota, Mo Aguiari,
how do you say flat in Spanish?
Flaco.
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 Flaco Mo.
Flaco. Okay.
Flaco Mo.
All right, so we're going to move on to a different topic here. Let's get to the M3, which we touched upon earlier. All right, so this whole thing stemmed. Supposed to happen last year, and it didn't, and they're having another one again. And
It's usually in May.
yeah, Amelia from SteeHeart was playing, and among most was one of my favorite bands, Accept. And this gave me an opportunity, so I recontacted Wolf Huffman. We're not really that close, don't know him that well, but I did hook up with him a couple of times. Again, thanks to Jim Padish, who made that connection, because they were interested in what I do. I mean, if you know anything about Accept, they're very sort of pro, I guess, military.
Patriotic.
Yeah, for a metal band, and a German metal band at that. But they've been around for quite a long time, as long as Judas Priest, and they were just, Germany's answer to Judas Priest, I suppose. And Wolf Huffman is the only original member now in that band, unfortunately. But he's keeping that brand alive, and man, what a monster guitar player.
Amazing.
They were very good. They were right at the top of the list as far as the best performances there.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
Saturday, a lot of people said they stole the show. They were one of the tightest bands out there. They really had their act together for a band that hasn't played on stage for a year and a half, except for the night before, which they explained. And so we were trying to hook up with Wolf. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but there was a time a few years ago where when I sat down with Wolf and we were talking about designing a set stage for their, I forget what tour it was. That was still when the original members, except for the singer Udo, was not in the band. So this was, I want to say,
that was a
about
while
6
ago.
years ago, 7 years ago. Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe even 8, but no more than that. So we sat down when they were playing in Springfield when Jax was still around, and we talked about it. I brought a couple of sketches and designs, and he was into it. I showed him what it is that I do, and he says, "Oh, that's really cool, the pinup art." And he says, "Yeah, I really like that kind of stuff." So anyway, nothing really became of that. I guess they ended up working with another set designer out in Europe, who designed the whole set, which is fine. It's no big deal.
Makes sense. Too.
Yeah, I mean,
They do live in Europe.
right, and I'm not really much of a set designer, but nonetheless. So we stayed in contact, and then I found out they were playing M3. And so I gave Wolf another chime, and I said, "Hey, we're going to be there. If you guys need a ride or anything like that, let me know. I want to talk to you about your guitars." And this is what I alluded to the last show,
Yeah.
and because I didn't know what was going to happen, so I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag one way or another. So, because since then, he plays Flying V's exclusively, and
It's what my fun fact is about.
yeah, and we'll get to that. And one of his Flying V's has a pinup on it. So I said, "Huh?" The first time I saw it, I was like, "Look at that!" I was like, "Where do you think he got that idea from?" So I emailed Wolf and I said, "Yeah, hey, I like your guitar." He says, "Why didn't you call me? I would have, been, happy to, paint a really cool, pinup on a Flying V." He goes, "Yeah," says, "I hooked up with this guitar company and they do everything all in-house and blah, blah, blah." And I say, "Okay, that's fine." So no big deal. So, again, getting back to M3, I said, "Hey, listen, maybe we could revive this whole thing. I know this guitar company's doing stuff. You're getting guitars." I said, "What do you think the chances are about, me doing a guitar again?" He goes, "Well, I have to find out." I says, "All right, you find out. Let's hook up at M3 and we could discuss it then." So even though we saw a lot of other people, again, a lot of chaos back there, a lot of stuff going on, people coming and going, and you'll see some in some of the photographs and videos, I guess, that, the highlights of some of the, fun things that we've done. We didn't take pictures of everything and everybody. But,
No, but I mean, like.
Oh God, Eddie Trunk. So
but
as soon
like-
as we showed
yeah.
up at the hotel, Eddie Trunk, who I bumped into.
Eddie Trunk is like right there, and
And
then
like,
plus
hey, I said
backstage
hello.
we're like elbowing with like
Right.
Kip Winger and Reb Beach, and it was just
Right.
amazing.
And the metal show guys were there. Don Jameson
Yeah.
and Jim Florentine. We had, said hello
yeah,
to
Stump
them.
the Trunk.
Yeah, and talk to them a little bit about those guys. Those guys lost a little weight. They look great, by the
Yeah,
way.
they all
so.
look great, yeah. And they all look the same, but
yeah.
they all look great, yeah.
Anyway, it was fun. So we were trying to get a hold of Wolf. We were like just missing each other, and even though the dressing room was right across from SteeHeart's dressing room, it was a lot of people there. I mean, the Eddie Trunk guys were there. It was just a lot of people trying to get in, and I'm like,
Right.
oh man.
A lot of people trying to get from point A to
Right,
point
so
B
I'm
without getting
texting, I was
harassed.
like, we're right over here, and just back and forth. We just kept missing each other. And he had interviews, obviously. He's got, all kinds of people, having him sit down, just like everybody else, interviewing how was the show, what are you guys doing, post-COVID stuff. So I got it. I didn't want to impose and just barge in and say, hey, Gary Velasco. And be like, who? Who are you? So I didn't want to do all that and kind of make a spectacle of that. So I just respected everybody's wishes and just remained. And if he had a moment, that we could talk, flag him down and say, hey, come on over here, Gary. Okay. So anyway, the show, their show was amazing. Bullet Boys were there, the original band Bullet Boys.
Winger
by the way.
was there.
Winger, the original
Winger did great.
band. And then Queensryche, I think version number 2 without Jeff Tate, they
Yeah.
closed out the show. There was a bunch of bands that canceled, that didn't show up.
I know Tesla was going to be there. I was upset when they canceled.
Yeah, that
I
would
love
have been.
Tesla.
But so they didn't play, but a lot of the bands did play.
SteeHeart did great.
SteeHeart did
Did
fine. Who else? Yeah, well, a lot of people credit, that singer still has it. Well, it's
Oh
Mike.
God,
Yeah,
his
Mike.
voice
Yeah.
is unbelievable. Yeah.
So if anybody knows, Rockstar, the movie Rockstar,
yeah, the movie
he did all
Rockstar with Jennifer
Wahlberg's.
Aniston and Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, he was the vocals.
He was the voice.
And so and in fact, that song "We All Die Young" was written by. He wrote that on the for the Wait album, which I think you haven't heard yet, but
Yeah, I haven't.
I have that. Anyway, so.
Know the song though.
Yeah, and again,
Who doesn't?
it was a fun time, and then we stayed overnight. We ended up back at the hotel. Oh my God, there was another 200 people.
Yeah.
By the time we showed up,
Just
and
people waiting outside, looking for autographs.
well, I mean,
that
it
kind of
just
thing, and then
the bands were there. That's
mingling
where
inside.
that's where the band stayed, so everybody knew, and everybody showed up, and you know, it was a couple of small, you know, it was a main bar and it was a satellite bar and there was lines, and yeah, it was a good time. We stayed up till I don't know, 12,
Later than
30.
we usually
I mean,
stay.
it doesn't sound very late, but for rock and roll these days, and you know, 50, 60-year-old guys, you know, that's pretty late. But it was a good time, and you know, again, it's one of those festivals that you know, post-COVID, now everything's starting to open up, and people had a good time. Everybody's respectful, you
Yes,
know. I mean, just,
yeah.
there were still people, you know, trying to, hey, could you sign this and pictures?
Yeah, but
and
they were
whatnot,
nice
but-
about it. They were always, would you mind? And
Yeah.
as soon as somebody said, yes, I mind, they walk away, you know, or
Yeah,
whatever.
well,
And I didn't see
I didn't
anybody
see
say
that
that,
either,
but
but it was still-
it seemed like everybody was nice enough to where if somebody had said that, they would have just, you know, gone on their way.
So, anyway, there's some highlights here on M3, and if you are on the
So
East
much fun.
Coast, the Mid-Atlantic states, it's definitely worth going. If
I'm
you like
already
that
looking
kind of
forward to
stuff.
next year.
And I
it
think
was awesome.
because Accept was a little heavier than, I guess, the 80s kind of maybe glam and
Yeah,
rap kind of bands.
Hair bands.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, man, it's a little heavy. But I think that's why they did so well, because everyone was like, oh my God, it was a good fit. They weren't too like crazy
Amazing.
mosh guys.
And they played the best songs
It was
too,
great-
not
great-
just
great set
you know,
list.
radio played songs, but it was
Yeah,
awesome.
it was a good set list that you don't normally hear. I know there's certain songs, staples like "Balls to the Wall" and
Yeah. Of course, they closed with that, yeah.
"Princess of the Dawn" and "Metal Heart" and stuff. But there was a lot of songs off of the "Blood of the Nations," "Pandemic."
Pandemic,
Of course.
gotta have
They
Pandemic.
wrote that song
yeah.
10 years ago.
I know.
Who knew that, you know, it would kind of fit what we're going to now as far as what's happening. Anyway, so, all right, so let's just move on now. What do we do next? A fun fact? Oh, since we're talking about music, fun fact.
Fun fact. Okay, the fun fact. Wolf Huffman obviously always uses the Flying V. He always plays the Flying V guitar. He has two signature Flying Vs that were done by Framus. Framus is the German guitar company, and that's the company that he was talking about when he talked to WingNut here. Well, one of those signature guitars is actually designed to resemble an American World War II bomber.
Well, at least the paint scheme, anyway.
How cool is that? A German guitar company making a Flying V guitar to resemble a World War II American
Well, they
bomber.
also called it
Oh, the Flying Fortress.
Flying Fortress, right?
Right.
That's what they called it.
Both of them, yeah.
Right. So I'll take over
Yeah,
since.
please do. You
So
know more
Wolf
than I do.
Hoffman has always played Flying V's. You know, except always the cross Flying V's. That was sort of their signature look. However, he did play various other guitars. You know, he did have a Strat that he recorded with and played out on. I think it was a black Strat. And but since then, he's now hooked up with Framus, and he has his own signature line. And I guess they do everything, as we mentioned before, in house, including the paint schemes. Which I looked at those guitars, and just unbelievable, you know, finishes on those.
So he has
things.
more than two now?
Yeah, he's got three.
Oh, wow.
Three, and now the other guitar player also has two different Framus.
So my
V's
fun
as well.
fact is outdated.
Yeah, already. How about that? But
That was quick.
nonetheless, I mean, you know, he didn't play the silver one, the one with the
He
pinup
did the
on
green
it.
and the blue.
Yeah, the green one, a blue one, and then the one with the snake on it, which is like on the album cover.
Right,
It's
right,
textured.
right,
It looks
yeah.
like it's kind of carved into the wood. But so hopefully, maybe in the future we'll do that. But yeah, those Flying V's are now, you know, part of his signature look. And he's a tall guy. He's like 6'1", 6'2".
think he's
I
taller
don't think
than
he's
that.
that. No, he's not taller than 6'2". He's a
No?
tall guy. Yeah, he's a big guy. And so he you know, he's been playing those Flying V's, and he had them on display. And you know, again, those guys did not miss a note, a cue, or anything. Those guys were solid rock.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
as best as you can. Again, I can't talk yet. I've seen Accept a few times. They've always been, you
And
know,
it was just a
tight
great
band.
show, too. I mean, they
Right.
put on an amazing show.
What's weird is there was no amps.
Yeah.
All the
He
bands
keeps
had
talking
2 or
about
3
this, too.
stocks, and they all had, you know, stacks of amps and this and that. And they show up, I was like, no, we're just nothing, just a drum set. We're
Like, I
nothing.
don't
We
even need that stuff. I don't even notice
And
that stuff,
they were
but
one of the loudest bands and
The
biggest.
loudest, hardest
And had
band
nothing
there.
on stage.
And they had no amps, yeah.
So, I mean, I know this.
I wouldn't have even
it's no
noticed it
secret
personally.
now that, you know, Wolf Hoffman has a single cabinet and a single head. and he has his setup. That's basically what it is, and it's in the back, and everything is just decor, as he puts it. You know, it's just there for for show. But everything is in the back. The bass goes direct. I think he had a little computer on the side of a music stand. And I think he plugged into that, and that plugged into something else and went straight into the board or something like that. It's crazy. Everybody goes direct. It has these little music, the sounds in a box, and it's just crazy. So, and he has a pedal board in the back, and it's a pedal board in the front, and his sound guy, or his roadie, if he's not activating, switching things, Wolf Huffman, that is, then the roadie will do it, because there's certain parts in songs and solos where they have certain effects, and like I said, if Wolf doesn't do it on his own, then the roadie guy will do it. But it's so technical now. I mean, the way they scale down and economical, they just need to show up with just the guitars with their instruments basically. Yeah. But it was fun watching. I mean, the stage was revolving, so while there was a band on playing, the next band was behind the curtain setting up.
And then it just revolved.
And it just spun around. And I'm looking, and when Accept came up, and it's like, I hear the guitars doing their check, but I don't see any amps. I was like, I know that there's amps in the back, but I thought they were going to have a back line, and I just thought it was just, it's like, again, the heaviest band that always has amps, it's like, no, we're not going to have amps in the front.
And everyone else has got them, and it
just looked
it's
weird.
Almost telling.
And a lot of people said it's like, why didn't they do that? Just put them up there, If it's just for decor, just put it up.
It's real, it's organic. They don't need it.
Whatever. Kudos, man. I mean, it doesn't change the way they sound.
Matter. I don't think most people even noticed.
I think they did. I did.
I don't.
We were right there. Oh, speaking of which, everyone was wearing black at a metal show, right? Everyone does that, all the black, even myself, right?
I wore red.
She wore red. And you can't miss her. And just about, I'm looking.
And we're right on the side of the stage.
Watching the band.
So almost every YouTube video you look at, you can see the red top and you can see him right next to you.
Yeah, we're right there. Yeah. And I said to her, it's like, I'm looking around, I says, you're the only one here that has bright red top. It's like, and you're seeing everybody with their phones and cameras, and I was like, how many pictures and videos you're going to be in because of that red top? And sure enough, it's there. We've isolated a couple pictures. I don't know if we showed before or not just now, but there's a lot of shots where we're in there. So
but most of them, I have my phone in front of my face and I'm videoing.
Yeah. But it was a good time. It was your first time, literally,
it was nice.
Experiencing.
I've never been backstage before. That was really
anything.
awesome.
So we had some connections and made it work, and it was kind of neat seeing everybody there, and just walking around just like anybody else, I mean, it's
with a VIP pass.
It's like, where are they? Rain and Garth from. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna move on. Anyway, that was fun. So. We want to shout out. Well, let's do this first because this is important. I posted something on World War II Noah's Ark fan site. It was so innocently done. It was a Doris May, the before and after. Remember we had the last the
nude and the non-nude.
Yeah, episode 10. Talk about how. It was originally nude, and then CAF headquarters said, no, we can't do that, and we have a rule about nudes, and so we had to change it. So I posted, pre-bathing suit and then bathing suit. And man, did the internet light up on that subject, and even the administrators, chimed in. Will Hill said, man, you caused quite the stir. I said, well, I didn't intend it to, I'm just, So I'm going to address this because, a lot of people said that they kind of wimped out and all this PC stuff and so I want to sort of present two sides of the story on not just that but why it is what it is today. All right, so it's back in World War II. Everything was planes were in bases which were basically off limits to civilians anyway. Mm-hmm. The planes that had nose art on the bases, whether it be Europe, ETO, MTO, or the PTO, the Pacific Theater. Much like today, you just can't walk on a base, especially during war. It's off limits. You can't get on there because everything was high tech back for that time period. It was just a lot of it was a secret. You can't get on there. So when the artists put artwork on the airplanes, it was never meant to be seen by the general public. And what was when, the photographs showed up like in Time or Life magazine, when they promoted, a mission or something successful for morale boost, which has happened quite often, they chose artwork that was, pretty benign, right? Nothing too scaly, nothing too like, oh my God, So, and you can look this up. Look at press photos of the nose art, and there's nothing that was like completely new that I'm aware of. Anyway, I have quite a few. So, the point is that a lot of the stuff was never meant to be seen by the general public, and when the war was over, a lot of this stuff would typically go away, or the planes wouldn't come back. And anyway, so. Memphis Belle, even though they highlighted that, Hell's Angels, they didn't even want to do Hell's Angels because of the name Hell's Angels, what it implied. It was a backup in case the Memphis Belle went down for whatever reason, but the Memphis Belle had a really good story. She had a nice pinup, had a bathing suit on. Right. So, I mean, it was very...
tasteful.
Yeah. So, that's what they went and did with, and then, of course, it showed up in Korea, even though LeMay had issued an order, okay, you have to censor everything. And a lot of it did get censored, but some of it didn't. Some guys, it was towards the end of the war anyway, in 45. So I think a lot of guys just said, screw it, I'm going home tomorrow, I'm not painting anything over. And there were so many of them who's General LeMay's going to go walk around and say, hey, I thought I told you. He's not going to do that. He's got other things to do. So a lot of it, did get undone and some didn't, or some just had a censored thing painted over. Or
like
some,
Doris May.
Right. Well, that was the Navy. The Navy was completely
censored,
different. But even though it was a land-based outfit, again, in the Pacific, it didn't really matter anyway because the natives that were there were half dressed. They didn't have any tops on, right. So there was nobody really to offend. So it was what it was until it kept going on, and then back I think it was in the 80s. Things started to go away when feminism came in. That's so sexist, so we got to get rid of that with the military, and that started to go away. But again, during like Desert Storm and all that, it showed up again because again, it was war. It was never meant to be seen by the general public.
Right.
So, and then now we come to modern times where a lot of these machines are in museums. People are restoring them. You can own them, and here's the point. He says, why don't they do original artwork and leave it? Well, because now it's in the public forum. It's going to air shows in a family environment.
Right, or even school trips, class trips.
Yeah, that's what I said. It has to be.
Stuff.
So you can't have anything really lewd and crude in there. Yeah, it may be original. But so we have to, take some artistic liberties and make it tasteful. And, a lot of these, people who own them, museums and organizations like the CAF, they're .orgs. They don't have money to actually spend and do what they want to do, so they depend on a lot of donations. So again, they have to, it's a give and take thing. So they have a brand now because they have to sell shirts and, coins and, hats and anything with that brand on it to bring in money and capital. So again, the artwork has to be something tasteful. It has to be sellable, and people, so they're not, embarrassed to wear or offend anybody. That's why, we have a sort of, self-PC when it comes to things like that. Now, if you want your own plane, you want to be your own person, buy your own P-51 or bomber, by all means, go ahead and do what you want to do. You want a crew, do it.
Yeah.
Problem is, see what happens when you try showing up at an air show. You'll get blacklisted because, you can't have that airplane there because it is what it is. Yes, it teaches history, and it is what it is, but you're in the general public. You can't have something so blatantly in your face. Yeah, I know you go to a beach. You're still bikinis, but if you want to go to a nude beach, that's different. You have, again, it's certain places for that non-general public. So that's why you have the pros and cons. So, but not to mention if, somebody doesn't like something, they hire a fancy lawyer, and now you get sued and you lose your airplane.
Right, and if it's a .org kind of thing, they're depending on money from those air shows.
That's exactly.
People to take rides and everything, so they have to be able to go to them. So,
right. So, anyway, I get both sides since I'm a nose artist. I do, what I do. So, I don't have that issue.
Well, my first thought when you told me about that, about Doris May having to get dressed, that was my first thought. I was like, how dare they? That's history.
Right.
But then he explained it to me, and it does make sense. So I understand too.
So anyway, for the guys that like are really, I'm a stickler for preserving history. Obviously, that's what it is I do.
You do.
I don't adhere to that. I mean, a lot of everything. My customers are private commissions. I do whatever they want. If it's nude and crude, then that's it. I mean, if it's grandfather fluid, then I'll paint it that way. And I've brought stuff to Oshkosh and other air shows that were nude, and nobody said boo about it. Maybe some of the kids go, "Look, Ma, she's naked," or whatever, and whatever. They either walk away. It's it,
nobody's really ever
most people
seemed
get
offended.
it. So it's that's how it is. So that's I hope everybody just kind of calms down and just hopefully people understand that there's two sides of the story, and it's still, at least these people are preserving it and doing what they do. So if it has to be censored a little bit, then so be it. At least they're out there flying it and preserving it.
But it's fine if you want to comment. If you want to comment on like the Facebook thing, that's fine. But just
Right, but-
keep in mind
Yeah.
this type of
There's
thing.
more
that's
to the
all.
story than actually
Yeah.
just what history is, especially in times where, it costs, a lot of money to operate these things. So it's like I said, if you have a plan, you want to do it, go ahead. See what happens though. A lot of people will get offended, and then you'll be like, screw it. Who wants that headache anyway? All right, so that's that story, and we needed to put that out there. But World War II Nose Art fans page on Facebook. Check it out. There's a lot of nose art stuff. I'm very active on there, posting things. Try to be careful not break some of the rules that they have on there. But I guess the administrator's kind of like, because I always ask for permission. It's questionable, and they're like, go ahead, I don't care. So okay, fine. So we go do with it. So we're promoting a little shout out to Will Hill and Bob Doro, I believe his name is.
But ask first, because they're really nice about it.
Yeah, they're really nice, and we'll hook up with you guys some point in the future and meet and sit down and have a
Maybe do an interview.
have a beer or something like that. Yeah. All right. So our last but not least is a shout out.
Yes.
One of our favorite characters,
Favorite people.
part-time producer Matt Blush. We need to have you on here at least to chime in. But
Thank you,
yeah,
Matt.
what he's doing, he's helping us with our house.
He's helping us with so much stuff with our house. He's helping us with the show.
Yeah, he's just a very knowledgeable guy about a lot of things, and he offers all the time to help us out whenever, and that includes, being behind the camera in the show. He's done some things with me with the video for Pin Siren, doing aerial, the drone footage, and he enjoys it. So, but
Knocked
we need
down a few walls in the house.
yeah. So,
Knocked down a shed last week.
oh my God, that was something. But so anyway, there's. So we'll have him on so people can see, but there's a couple pictures here, so you guys know.
Yeah,
what
we
Matt
gotta
was.
show you a picture of
He's
the shed,
he's
too.
has quite the history. He knows a lot of people.
He's just an all-around good guy.
Yeah, we'll talk to him more about that too, and the involvement with what the connection of him and I and
Warrior
others.
Flight Team.
Warrior Flight Team. We'll do a show about that, but we'll have Matt on. Put another chair here because he's only about an hour. From
Yeah, we
here.
don't have a flat mat.
No.
That'll be 3D.
Yeah, he'll be here, and I'm sure you guys will get a kick out of him. All right, so I guess that concludes. This is a long one, and I'm not sure what we're doing for next week. We have to figure something out. I think we're gonna go back to a regular format. Oh, by the way, we changed our scenery because everyone's like, you need to change it up a little bit. So we did. We're like, okay, what do we do? We're in this big place.
Yeah, we're gonna keep changing it.
Yeah, we'll probably do some other locations, maybe some from the house someday, and I don't know. You guys got suggestions? Let us know if it's reasonable.
Maybe from the bar.
Yeah. I guess that's it. So, again, it'll be a surprise to what we do for next show. And
Surprise to us too.
yeah, that's what I meant. So I hope to see you next time. Send in your questions.
Please, yeah, we need
And
some more questions.
or suggestions, and hopefully this will make it. We're crossing platforms on this one with the music people. but-
Rock and roll.
Yeah, well,
RockHead.
that's what the show implies. So, anyway, until next time, Facebook. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is NoseArt1. I'm sure you'll find it. Just type in the WingNut RockHead show. and you'll see, you know, all the, you know, the actual channel, and then subscribe to that. I know every week we're getting more people.
Yeah, and check out the video I See Ghosts. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's a cool one too.
It's a rock and roll video.
But yeah, I'm pretty active, so if you need to get a hold of me for anything, just let me know. Oh, you know what? I just thought of this. Next week we're going to feature, I've been working on this P40 whole nose section.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll do.
Ah.
I need to start, yeah, because we've been taking
I
pictures
was
and
going to ask you
documenting
how
that.
that was coming along.
Yeah, well,
too.
that's,
I forgot about that.
there's a lot of,
I was thinking about that
lot of stuff, so-
yesterday or something. I
yep,
think.
got to get back on that and get some more progress. So that's what we'll do. We'll start from the beginning, what we're doing, and he's on Facebook too. His name is Mike G. So we're going to take care of you on this next show for that one. All right, so guys, so we'll see you next time on the WingNut and RockHead Show.